Hi guys, here it is Fight Sai with yet another video, and today we're going to be discussing the bare fundamentals of boxing. This is what you need to know if you want to start boxing, if you are interested. Not everybody's interested for one reason or another. Now, unlike other sports, I feel as though boxing isn't nearly as hard to pick up. I don't feel like it's necessarily the easiest sport to pick up because in the beginning you're going to suck. 9 times out of 10 you're going to suck unless you were just naturally talented or have been in like fucking 30 or 40 street fights. But at first you're going to suck. What makes boxing so hard to pick up in the beginning is discipline. You have to stay disciplined. No matter how discouraged you get, you have to stay disciplined. But versus other sports, let's say like I want to say soccer or basketball or stuff like that. Those are sports you have to be you either have to do since you're a little kid or you have to be extremely naturally gifted at them. What I mean by that is I've tried to play basketball before. I was terrible at it. I didn't know the first thing about throwing a ball. No one really helped me. People tried to help me, but it was fruitless. There was no way I was throwing a basketball. Boxing, I was very much the same way. I knew how to clench my fist. I knew how to fully extend my arm and kind of get that shoulder snap. But I was very tense through the shoulders. I wasn't, and I'll get into this in a minute, but I wasn't twisting my hips. I was very, very nervous because I wasn't sure if I was going to be good at it or not. But in time, I got much better at it. First 6 months are going to be rough, but in due time, you will get better. But enough with the motivational speak. I'm not Andrew Tate. First thing you want to do before you do anything is relax your shoulders and don't be too tense. I was terrible with this in the beginning. I was nervous that I was going to look bad in front of my father, who's been practicing martial arts for, I want to say, 37 years. But yeah, getting back to my point, you do not want to be too tense. It's natural to be tense, You're not used to throwing punches. You're worried the bag might hit back. I was worried that I wasn't going to impress my father. Don't overthink it. It isn't sparring, and even in sparring, you shouldn't overthink it. I haven't sparred yet, but in due time, I will spar. Once I do, I'll give pointers on that. But just the bare fundamentals, do not be too tense. Don't be nervous. Be completely relaxed. Picture it like it's target practice. You throw a body shot, throw it low. You throw a shot down the pipe, either to the head, solar plexus, or stomach, either to the body, head, or solar plexus. You definitely want to just don't even picture it as a person. Just picture it like it's target. Second most important thing, make sure to twist your hips. You do not want to throw arm punches. What do I mean by arm punches? All an arm punch is you extend your arm out to throw a punch. You don't want to do that. You either want to do one of two things or both. You want to either twist your hips, which is how I was taught. It increases your power 3, 4, 5-fold. You want to either that or you want to kick your heel out. Another way I was taught. Kicking your heel out isn't quite as easy, so just for and I haven't quite gotten it down, but definitely you want to twist your hips. You do not want to be stiff. If you're just throwing arm punches, you're not going to get any power behind your punches, and they're basically going to be useless. The other guy, if you're sparring or what have you, is just going to walk straight through them. This is also very important. Might be actually more... No, I wouldn't say more important than the last thing I just said, but definitely third most important. Please, whatever you do, keep both of your hands up. I can't tell you how many times in the beginning of my boxing journey I wasn't able to keep my hands up. My dad would constantly be telling me, "Hey Joe," my name, "Hey Joe, dude, keep your hands up. You don't want to get caught with anything flush." And that is one of the most fundamental things of boxing. Third most important thing. And if you don't think it's a mistake you could make, look at guys like Ryan Garcia. I wouldn't say Ryan Garcia is the best fighter, but he's a seasoned pro. He's got 24 pro fights now. And if you look at him, he was constantly getting clipped by Gervonta Davis's left hand. He was constantly getting clipped by Gervonta Davis's left hand. You want to keep both of your hands up. And this leads well into my next point, maybe the same point arguably. You need to keep your hands up when you're throwing a punch. What do I mean by that? When you throw a punch with your left hand, you got to keep your right hand up. Basically, whenever you throw a punch with one hand, you got to keep the opposite hand up. It makes you a harder target to hit and doesn't leave your chin exposed, thus you won't get knocked out. Now, these next 2 points are going to be slightly more complex, so bear with me. Footwork is a large component of boxing. In the beginning, it may not seem like it. You would think it's like 90% punching, but it really isn't. Punching is maybe like 10 or 20% of boxing. Footwork is at least 50% of boxing. What do I mean by that? To put it simply, footwork can either get you out of trouble defensively, put you in better positions offensively, or could land you into trouble if you're not good with your footwork. One of the main things with footwork is there's a few key rules that you need to follow. One of them being, do not cross your feet and do not bring your feet together. Keep them spread apart and don't bring them together, don't cross them up. What do I mean by that? If you're in range and your feet are crossed, you're going to get knocked down. You're off balance and you're going to get knocked down and probably badly, maybe even knocked out. Bring them together and your stance is squared up, you're also going to get knocked down and possibly knocked out. Please, please, please keep your feet apart and please, please, please don't cross them up. This is another problem I had in the beginning. I wasn't disciplined with my footwork. I would cross my feet. I would bring them together. I still bring them together a little bit. Still square up my stance a little bit. But when you're out of range or just out of range, it doesn't matter really what you do. But when you're in that mid to close range, it definitely matters with your footwork, as well as long range. When you're completely out of range, it doesn't really matter. When you're in range of your opponent, it absolutely matters what you do with your feet. Please, 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 it bears repeating. Do not cross your feet and do not bring your feet together / squaring up your stance. Final point. And I didn't know this until recently because I was training with my dad who trained in karate for a number of years. No, he hasn't been teaching me kicks. He's been teaching me mostly hand strikes, elbow strikes, stuff like that, stuff of that nature. It's important in a street defense situation that your feet never leave the ground. Only important kick in a street fight is the front kick. Other than that, very limited when it comes to that. You want to keep your feet on the ground. You want to use it to move around, use your footwork, and you want volume more than anything. You don't want to be doing fancy shit. You don't want to be feinting, throwing fake punches. That only works in boxing. You throw a fake punch, somebody might hit you with you want to use your feet as well as your defense. But I didn't know this until recently. You need a slight angle to your stance. What do I mean by that? Your front foot should be turned at around a 45-degree angle, and your back foot should be turned at around just ever so slightly turned. I have this baked into my psyche now to a point where I just do it automatically. I turn my foot at a 45-degree angle, and you want to twist your trailing foot ever so slightly. You want to be mobile. You don't want them like twisted too far in. You don't want them completely straight, because even though it's better for mobility, it is terrible for balance. That's pretty much about it. Those are all the bare fundamentals, the ground rules, the laws of boxing, the most basic laws. I guess you call them the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 commandments of boxing. Not 10. 8 commandments of boxing. These, if you follow these 8 rules in the beginning and build off of it and make your style more complex, I guarantee you'll get good at boxing. Thank you for tuning in once again. This is Fight Size signing out.